All righty, folks, it is 6:05. So thank you everyone for joining us for this conversation. I'm absolutely blown away by all the little boxes that I'm seeing and how many people in our community showed up. So I'm going to guess, just like I was when I opened that letter in the mail last week. Thank God I was sitting down when I did it, because what do you know, my appraised value went up. So this is my second year kind of offering this informational session, and my goal tonight is to answer questions you guys have about your own assessments that have come in the mail, and arm you with information on how you can go about protesting those property taxes. So most of the folks joining us this evening are here in the Dripping Springs area in Hays County. If you happen to live in a county outside of Hays County, that is all right. So all are welcome here. This information is going to be really, really helpful. So again, at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little chat box. That's a great place to go type in your questions as we go through this evening. And then towards the end, I'm going to ensure that we get everybody's questions answered, or at least a resource to get your question answered, or we will have a note to kind of follow up and get back. I don't know all the answers. You know, I'm a real estate agent here in Dripping Springs. My name's Ashley Tullis. I should have started with that. So I work here in Dripping Springs. I've been selling real estate here for a number of years. I have a kiddo here in the school district. I'm a 6th generation Texan. I love my community. And so that's the purpose tonight, is to help everybody in my community kind of go fight these tax increases that I too am seeing. So this evening we have an expert with us. Amongst these little squares that you see, we have Chase McRoberts of Home Tax Shield. He is going to kind of lead the show tonight. He is truly our expert here that I have partnered with this year. Don't worry, we're going to arm you with information at the end on how to contact Chase and Home Tax Shield. And of course, I'll have my information posted as well. Also joining us tonight is my assistant, Lauren Kohler. So between the three of us, we've got you covered. So I'm going to pop on over to Chase. And Chase, why don't you introduce yourself and take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Ashley. And I love how you started off that we may not have all the answers on this call, but we want to just leave you with information and do everything that we can to help and support you in this protesting time of the year. This is the time to do it and time to engage. So my name is Chase McRoberts, and I've been involved with Home Tax Shield for about 4 years. Home Tax Shield was a startup born actually out of this area. Our CEO lives in Hays County and in Driftwood, and I'm here in Austin, Texas as well. And this is just an option that we're going to present to you as a possibility to go out and make the best of this situation in regards to what the taxes look like and your valuations, et cetera. And we'll walk through some of the nuances. And listen, if you do nothing after this except protest your taxes, regardless of how you do it, that's what we hope that you leave with. So this is not about Home Tax Shield. We will certainly talk about all the different options related around protesting here tonight. So, Ashley, do you have any specific questions you want me to lead with? If not, I'll start to kind of answer some of the questions in the chat, and I'll also go into just informing everybody on some of the things to kind of think about during this conversation. How does that sound?
That sounds great. And I think a great lead off would be, and I can do it or you can do it. Would you start by explaining how different folks appraise properties a different way? Like the way I, as a real estate agent, assess a property versus an appraiser when you're applying for a loan versus the county, you know, so on and so forth. Could you give us a kind of explain like I'm five about these different entities and how, well, I'm going to spoiler alert. I'm going to share with you. None of us have the same number.
Yeah, nobody has the same number. And here's the thing, You said explain it in 5. I'm not sure I can do that, but I will do my best to meet that
Oh,
deadline.
no. Explain like I'm 5.
Oh, I got you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So with that said, Ashley's 100% right. There are a lot of different numbers here. And that leads really into the fact that when a real estate agent goes out and they want to value your property, it's based off of what the market is speaking to. It's based off of what that property most likely will trade for. And they're going in and they're assessing how many bedrooms, how many baths, price per square foot, et cetera. You will find that an appraiser goes in and they will do somewhat of a similar analysis. But if you have a 4-bedroom house in a neighborhood that's typically a 3-bedroom house neighborhood, you're going to certainly have a premium on that additional bedroom. And same goes for if you only have a 1-car garage and it's typical to have a 2-car garage in that neighborhood. So they're going to provide additional value and valuation to specifics of that property and vice versa. So that allows them to assess properties that might not be quote unquote entirely similar. But that is really based off of data that they have that is sales data. And that is one piece of this when we talk about appraised value and going in and fighting property taxes. And so from a property tax perspective, there's 2 arguments in the state of Texas that really help you in going about this conversation. One of them is going in and talking about actual sales that have occurred. And that is about properties that have actually closed in the last 12 months. But mind you, we live in a non-disclosure state. So the second you go in and provide sales data to Hays County, they immediately now know exactly what those homes sold for, and they should not know. There's actually some legal stuff going on in regards to MLS access and Hays County, and that was fought in Travis County a few years ago by the Austin Board of Realtors, and they won against the county to not be able to have access to that sales data because we are in a non-disclosure state. So my point in saying that is that I would not use that as my route or my mechanism. And same goes with even your closing disclosure. If anybody on this call just purchased a house in the last year, and maybe you paid less than what the property is being appraised for on record this year moving forward as it relates to your taxes, just be cautious is all I have to say. You certainly have the right to disclose that if you want to disclose that, but that's your choice. They should not have that data on their own.
So
The
I have
other,
a question, Chase. If I'm
Sure.
hearing you correctly, what you're saying is the county will know if you go snitch and you go turn all the data over. Otherwise, they're just guessing.
That they really should be basing it on what they appraise your house for and what they believe the home is worth. It shouldn't be based off of sales data. Now, here's the other thing. If I turned in my neighbor's sales data because they just purchased that home and I use that to benefit me, they actually can't turn that around and then use it against them. That is in the code. So if you know that maybe like your neighbor's lot is bigger than yours, and they're assessing them at the same valuation, and you go and tell the county that, listen, I have a half acre and my neighbor has an acre and you're assessing ours at the same value, that will not hurt your neighbor. It will only help you. So I want to be clear about that because I've done that in my own situation where the class of properties across the street were actually at a lower class versus mine. And so I was having to pay higher taxes. The other argument, though, Ashley, is the equity argument. And I know a lot of us in that have lived in the real estate world for many, many years, or those of you that are even on the call, and you think about, I purchased my home for, I'm gonna make up numbers, but $500,000, and now my home's worth $1 million, and I have $500,000 in equity. Well, that's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about things being equitable in regards to the fact that if you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and again, I'm making this up, but just for an example, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,500 square feet on a 0.3 acre lot. Well, what other homes did not sell this last year that are also comparable to that? And that's the thing that is really important, is to compare every property that meets the similar criteria to yours that has not sold, and and are they paying lower taxes? And are they valued differently than you? Because this was also talked about on the news in Austin a couple of weeks ago, on KXAN, where they talked about the fact that somebody just purchased a home and that home has been reassessed, and maybe they pay $10,000 in property taxes. The home across the street may be paying 5,000. And again, I'm making up this example, but just that's inequitable. And so going at it from that perspective is one of the things that Home Tax Shield has been doing over the last couple of years. So even as the market has continued to appreciate, we have been extremely successful in fighting taxes from that perspective alone. And by the way, all of this data is public data from all of the counties. You can download these data sets. You can go through it. If you want to spend your personal time and actually go through that data, look at it and go in and fight the battle with the county and the appraisal district, more power to you. And you should, if that's the what you want to do to fight your taxes, please do it. If you want to leverage some of the time back, then I would certainly look at hiring a company. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what some of the differences look like as we get through this call. But I really want to focus at the top of the call about education and what it looks like. So those are two arguments that are really important and something to understand the difference about.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to ask a leading question, or actually, no, I'll just spoil it. I'll just share a little tip from your local real estate agent. There's a couple of things that you want to look at whenever you purchase a home. Some time ago, whenever you purchased your home, you'd have to wait until the next January to file your homestead exemption, stating that this is my homestead, and that protects those increases on that tax bill each year. So if you don't have a homestead exemption in place, get that filed ASAP. If you're over the age of 65, there's another exemption that you could have in place as well. So if you are over the age of 65, be sure that you have that exemption in place ASAP. And that's going to be pretty magical, because that's going to actually freeze the taxes that you pay each year to the school district locally. So those are just a couple of little housekeeping. If you haven't done it yet, please be sure to get that taken care of. I'm gonna mute everybody. There's a lot of people on this call, so Chase, I'll unmute you in just a second. So if you don't have those two things, please be sure to do that. And then Chase, could you speak to me and probably everybody else? So I have my homestead exemption in place. As you can tell, I'm not a day over 25, and I don't qualify for that other exemption. But can you speak to me about, okay, well, my tax bill is only going up maximum of 10% each year. The question I have for you is, should I still protest?
Yeah, it's a great question. And before I go into that, and I will answer your question, if you have not filed your exemptions, and you can go back 2 years with the county, and they will work with you on that. So I just wanted to add that asterisk to what Ashley was saying. Make sure, and if you've owned the property 2 years, that you go back and grab that for the last couple of years, and potentially you might get a refund on your previously paid taxes. So with that said, Ashley, you're right. You will continue to see a 10% increase every single year, most likely. Some years in the past, if you've lived in your property for a number of years, there were years that it didn't go up at all, or it went up just a few, $100 or in valuation. I know that happened to me prior to the last couple of years, where we saw the pretty steep appreciation across the area. But here's the thing, there's two things going on at the same time. You have a assessed value that you're paying your taxes on, and you have an appraised value that is the appraisal of your property. So if you think your assessed value is fair, that's great. But you should still protest your taxes. And let me tell you why. It's not all about protesting taxable value. It's about even protesting the appraised value. Because here's what will happen. You will get the 10% every year, basically, until they hit the appraised value. So if you don't protest the appraised value, even though you're not looking to save money on your taxes this year, which I think we all are if we can, then the point being is that you're mitigating what potentially the future years could look like by protesting that appraised value. So I think that that's important. That's something that I've certainly learned the hard way as well in the years past when I wasn't part of this industry. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. The other thing going on as well, Ashley, is in regard to there's an actual amount of taxes or a taxation amount that you're going to pay. Like in my neighborhood, I pay 2.1%. Some neighborhoods pay 1.9 in Austin. Some pay 3%. It just depends on the neighborhood and potentially the amenities. And that was set forth generally when the area was developed. And that all plays into the aggregate of the county taxes and the school district taxes and everything that you're paying for. With that being said, those can at some point be realigned. So when you protest, there's concern sometimes by, or at least I've had conversations with some in certain seats, right, where they have said that there's concern if you protest your taxes, there's not going to be funding for areas, or not going to be funding for this or funding for that for the neighborhood. And the thing is that that's not really what that's about. Protesting is about your specific property. 86% of people don't protest their taxes in Texas. It's a very high number, and they're banking on that most people won't. Here's the thing, towards the end of the year, they reset what that rate is to make sure that their budget still meets what they need it to do anyway. So the best thing that we can do as consumers is on the front end, do the action that we are able to take and that we legally have been given the right to do, which is to protest the valuation and protest the taxable value. And that's what we can control. So that's kind of the piece of this that is, I've seen the Texas Realtors, which is an organization that helps the realtors in Texas lobby and do different things. They put out a lot of information about this over the last decade, where that's considered the hidden property tax, which is the valuation being able to be changed, or not the valuation, but the tax percentage being able to be changed at the end of the year. So I just want to, not to confuse everybody and not to go too deep on that, but I want to make sure that we do talk about the variables that are at play here.
I love it. So there's quite a few questions in the chat. Would you like me to jump there, or did you want to kind of go a different direction before we get into that?
Yeah, let's do some of the questions in the chat. Let me,
okay.
I see Linda mentioned something about structure or alternative construction, and does that play into potential comps and properties? And it certainly can, Linda. You know, when you have a unique piece of property and you have a log home and maybe even an older log home, it still is about not necessarily comparing construction, but comparing equity, right? And equitable properties. And so even though that's unique, it still can play into the conversation. And so we, as far as like where I sit at Home Tax Shield, we're going to look at that from the number of bedrooms, the baths, square footage, the land it's sitting on, the pieces that we can see from that perspective to build our grid around that, those metrics and that property. If you have specifics that we need to be aware of, once you sign up, if you choose to go with Home Tax Shield, and I'm assuming that other companies are this way too, that you're able to send them information that is specific about your property to ensure that that's used in the protest and the hearing if we have to go there, et cetera. Let me go to Kurt. At a very low appraised value for raw land. It seems like they're trying to catch up for that. Kurt, I completely agree. I do think that they're trying to catch up for that. I mean, with the development around, and I'm assuming you're in Hays County, but I don't know. With that being said, there's a lot of development around the area. There's a lot of demand for the land. And I do think that they're trying to make up for that. Of course, if you have an ag exemption or another exemption that helps you cap what they're able to assess your property at, that also can help. But if you don't, you're right. I think they are. You did say something, can you appraise a rental property based off the income basis? So there's a couple things at play on an income property. It is something that can be used. However, from a taxation perspective, the thing that we go in and we look at, because I'll tell you, I mean, cash flow has been hurt severely in Austin. And when I say Austin, I am including Hayes County, by the way.
The
I
greater
want
Austin area.
there you go,
Yeah.
Austin area. I'm not speaking of Austin proper or Travis County when I say that. With that said, it's the fighting of and I go back to, I've been fighting my taxes for years. I've never not done it, even before I was part of Home Tax Shield and in this industry specifically. We have data points that say if you do nothing, of course, you get zero reduction. If you fight your taxes for a couple of years, we believe that you'll get about $2,400 to $2,500 off. If you do this for 5 years, we believe we can save you about $5,000 to $7,000, depending on the property and the situation. So this situation is really about consistency more than it is about, I'm going to do it this year because values are high.
Mhm.
It's a consistent conversation to get that number down and to really see the compounding effect happen over time. So to answer your question, it can be used, the income basis. Let's see. GT says they tripled our land value. How do we protest the land value increase? That is just part of the overall appraised portion and the appraised value of your property. And so it's part of the protest as a whole. You don't just protest the improvement portion of the land, you can also protest the land side as well. Amanda mentioned something about land value that
Everybody's land value sky high. Our dirt is golden out here in Dripping Springs these days.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? I mean, we want our investments to appreciate, and yet it's something that we in Texas. And here's the thing with Texas, right? We don't have an income tax. Yes, we do have a sales tax. But if anybody on this call has moved from another state and they're very unfamiliar with what is happening here, like if you move from California, for instance, California, you buy a house and they keep the taxable value for as long as you own it. They never change it. And in Texas, it changes every year, and as well, it at least is reassessed every year. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so they are making up for some lost time on some of our land for sure. Kurt, about the bonds, I'm not sure about that answer to that. We don't want to
just above, we'll ask, how are appraised values established? How does the county put this stuff together?
Yeah, I mean, like I was mentioning in regards to some of the various metrics and components to your property, it's really going to be, it's based off of multiple things, by the way. It's not just bedrooms, baths, square footage, land. It's the class of the property too. I mentioned that briefly, but I don't know if anybody caught that. There's different classes, and anybody that on this call that might have invested in commercial real estate or real estate as a whole, we often speak about classes of properties from an investment perspective too. And it's the same thing from an appraisal perspective. And with that said, the higher the class of your property, the more they're going to the higher they're going to assess you. And what you can do too, if you decide you want to do this on your own, you can actually look up every single property in your neighborhood and see what's the class of every property in the neighborhood. If you find something lower than yours, take that as your example.
So I mean, can you protest the class that your property is in as well? Because I've seen some, just kind of looking through tax rolls, and it's been changing. over
Yep.
the years. So that is another piece that we could actually protest as well, or just even ask the question, we went from this class to this class. Do they have to explain to you why, or do they just decide? It's so evasive to me.
It kind of is. And the way I think about it is not so much in the tell me how you got here, but here's the evidence of why I shouldn't be there.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
And the reason why is because if you, I kind of think about it from the standpoint of you're asking them to defend themselves, and I'm not sure they have a lot of defense on some of it. So and I say that with really kindly, by the way. Um, but with that said, is if you're able to go in and say, here's my neighbor, comparable property, they're at a lower class than I am. I think this should be taken into account and I should be equal or equitable to them. I think you have a case to that entirely.
Awesome. Awesome. And in regards to the conversation around the bonds, we have a bond election happening for our school district right now, like early voting's going on. There's other bonds proposed. So I don't think we can quite dive into that. But Kurt, I would love to talk to you one-on-one offline. I'd really love that. I would like to know the percent increase in average value from 1/1/22 to 1/1/23 in 78620. Was it the 18% ARB is using for R2 properties? So I can speak to a statistic I saw for Hayes County. The average increase was 14.2% in Hayes County. I don't know what the average increase was for 78620 specifically, but I'm certain Home Tax Shield could pull that data and tell us.
Yeah, and I don't have that offhand either, but yes, you're right. We work in over 40 counties across the state of Texas, and with that said, all of them have gone up pretty much and dramatically. Most of them are double digits. Travis County was actually the only one that we put out a stat on that I'm aware of, unless I've overlooked something, that was not double digits this year. I think we got hit last year in Travis. So yeah, it's you're right. Most of these are double digits this year in increase. So it's a really pivotal year, excuse me.
I went back and looked from when I purchased my property here in Dripping Springs in 2018, and I did the calculation over that 5 years. I've increased 301%. Like, I didn't know it was that big. Like, I knew it was big, but I didn't know it was that big. So again, if y'all are wondering, like, why is this real estate agent pulling us all together? Because I'm mad as hell about it. That's why. So next, Kenny kind of described his situation as well. And he ends it with, that's insane. Yes, it is. Yes, sir, it is. It's absolutely insane.
It is, Kenny. I'm with you. That's why I have a passion for doing this.
How do they estimate value of what it's worth without sales data?
Well, they're going to the traditional appraisal valuation, which is really what they always were set out to do. I think over time, because we're a non-disclosure state, some of these appraisal districts decided to take the shortcut and they used the sales data because they knew that these homes were selling for more than they were assessing them and appraising them for. So how do they estimate the value of that? They do it off of exactly how an appraiser would do it. And it's going to be off of what they believe the land value is worth, what they believe the improvement property is worth. And they're going to compare it to others in the area. And they generally are going to compare it with sales that they can access. And some of this is accessible and some of it isn't. Even though we're in a non-disclosure state, you know, when you enter into certain agreements, you do end up disclosing the sales price of your property. And so with that being said, I mean, even some of the apps out there like Zillow and some of the other ones, you can pretty much see what things sold for. So it is, they'll use all means necessary to get the data if they need to. What I've seen.
Aaron said the county used sales data against me last year in my protest. They knew my purchase price. Where I see this being reported most commonly is in new construction. That's where I've come across it personally. But you hit the nail on the head. When all of these rules and regulations were first put in place, right? Like the internet wasn't a thing like it is now. Everything is on the internet. And somebody just requested to record. You guys don't worry, we are recording this call. We're going to send a link out so you can revisit this information as well. So I just want to mention that. But with the age of the internet, it's like Big Brother's always there. They're seeing everything. So it's no surprise that some of that data is leaked, but it's not supposed to be. It's startling actually how much can just pop up, even though it's not supposed to be in front of them.
Yeah, I hope I agree with you, Ashley, and I hope I answered Will's question since it's similar to Doug's. And Aaron mentions, like you said, about they knew the purchase price. The reason why I became very passionate about this is every time I bought a house, they were only about $30 off. 30 like 100 to 30, $30 to $100 off. And I was going, that's impossible that you know what I paid for the house. And so it's just, I knew they had other means to get the data, and I knew we were in a non-disclosure state. I knew it just wasn't fair. And we needed things to be fair. And so we needed more options out there. Let's see. CL Coat says, one of our homes is a manufactured home built modular standards. We understand the value of the modular homes. Does it typically increase? How can they use the purchase value to increase 18%? Honestly, they're probably just going across the board, slapping on 18% and seeing if you come in and do anything about it.
And how many people don't do anything about it? What was that percentage?
86%.
Okay. Wow. Can you imagine if all 86% that weren't doing anything showed up? What a response that would have to be met by the county. Wow.
Yeah. And let me say this too, in regards to that statement, because you're right. They wouldn't be able to probably handle it.
Let's get him.
I know. And so that's one of the things that the system is interesting. It is set up where you have rights, you can protest, and they expect you. They expect that you would in situations like this, but people don't. It's a time commitment, y'all. I mean, you go down there, you got to meet with them, you have to essentially argue with them to try to figure out what their case is. You have to justify your case, maybe you go to the hearing, etc. If you choose to do that, again, more power to you, and please do it. If you choose to use a company, here's the thing that I have seen that's been fascinating to me in this business is we'll go into a county with thousands of properties, a couple thousand. Last year, we did over 25,000 properties in protest, just to kind of give you a scale of home tax yield. We're the second largest in the state, and we expect to do probably about 50,000 this year. I mean, we're prepared for that. With that being said, and I'm not saying those numbers to tout anything, I'm just sharing with you scale in regard to when I say we go into a county with a couple thousand properties, that is in fact what it will look like. And they're ready to just talk to us. They are ready to make a deal. And so what we will do as a company, because we've run all of this through our systems and our algorithms, and we are doing this very computer generated, is why we're able to scale the business at the rate that we have. But here's what happens. We still take a personal person in there that is extremely educated in this conversation and can fight on your behalf. And here's what happens. Last year, I can tell you a county that's not too far from the Austin area, we just went in and they said, we'll give you 10% off every home. And at first we said, that's fantastic, we'll take it. But here's the thing, with the caveat that we're going to go back through all of our properties and find out and make sure that 10% is enough on all of these. And so on the ones that it was, great. We went back in like a week later and we said, but not on these. And here's why. And so we actually went in and had a more strategic and stringent conversation about why we needed more on those properties. And so my point is that, like, for somebody like me, my property is valued very fair, in my opinion. In my neighborhood, all of my neighbors around me are higher on their taxable value, but I don't stop fighting, and I won't, and I never will. And the reason why is because I got that 10% last year, even though I probably didn't need it. So my point is that this is not just a one time, this is an every year thing. And when you work in scale like that, sometimes being bigger isn't better, but sometimes it is. And with this situation, it is from the scale perspective, because they don't want to go through that many properties one at a time. They want to really just say, let's come to an agreement and let's both move on, because they know it's a bottleneck.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to be as transparent as I can here, because we all came here for information. We all came to grow around this topic, and I want to make sure that you get the value out of it. Let's see. Are we on Brenda's? Whose question are we on?
Yeah, if we are a non-disclosure state, how would we be providing that sales information for them to know? Again, that can happen a number of ways. The internet is a wild, wild place, you guys. So it's definitely happening there. When you reach out to a local real estate agent, hey, I need comps so I can go protest my property taxes. I use the term snitch. I'm going to use it again. We're tattletaling. The worst strategy, in my opinion, as a real estate professional, is just to print out some comps or email them over to somebody that lives at 123 Main Street and say, good luck. See me next year. I'll do this again. Like, that's not serving you well. You are not really equipped to go fight the fight with just a printout of comparable properties in your area. As Chase has been talking about, I think I might have just stepped on a soapbox. I apologize. You need to go in with a strategy, and you need to have a truly crafted argument around how what is being done to you is unfair compared to your neighbors. And the sales data, that isn't going to cut the mustard on it.
Yeah. And Ashley, I was guilty of that. And before I knew, what I should do, I would do that, about 10 years ago. And you're right. It does end up showing data that you shouldn't show. Mm-hmm. So, Quizinic, I may be saying that wrong. I'm so sorry if I am, says, what is the cap or maximum that the increase can be applied by the county? There is not one. Mm-mm. Nope. There is not one. The only thing that caps you is your exemptions. And so that's why those are important to have on there. If this is your primary home, your homestead, and if it's a rental property, there is not a cap, which is why some people saw really incredible increases over the last couple of years in the valuation and the taxable value that they're paying on the property. So Kenny, it is 10. You're correct on a homestead exemption only. That's it.
You hit the nail on the head with Kurt's question. What about property that is not your homestead?
Yep.
No limit.
No limit.
Yep. No limit. Hope it's cash flowing enough to take the hit. That's exactly why we've seen rents go up, because the taxes went up. So it makes the affordability conversation compounding, because property owners have no choice but to raise those rents. Oh gosh, it can just be maddening. Tasha, we used home tax shield last year and it just renewed. At that time, they couldn't lower our taxes more than our homestead exemption already was. Does home tax shield then compare neighbors' taxes?
Yeah, we certainly will in a comparable area. And so, Tasha, what will happen is every year that you sign up, there's a nominal fee up front. If you sign up through Ashley's link, and I know, Ashley, you're going to post that here for everybody if they choose to use it, you'll get a 50% discount on the first year to sign up. We normally charge $30 to sign up, and that is an annual fee. The first year you'll get it at $15. And then we charge a 30% success fee on the back end when we're successful. We will not charge that to you until October or November, when your tax bill is due anyway. We feel like that's fair. And even though we will know the answer on where we stand, most likely sometime this summer, we're not going to charge you for the success until we get there. To answer your question, Tasha, though, the homestead exemption, let me break it down with some numbers. So if you have a $500,000 valuation on your property and we lower it to $475,000, well, that's $25,000. The homestead exemption is worth 40,000, which would mean that it was actually down to 460, right? That is a greater reduction than what we earned for you. Therefore, we don't charge you any 30%. You would only pay the sign up fee. That is a unique feature to Home Tax Shield that I'm not aware of a competitor doing in the state of Texas. They would generally charge you on whatever they lowered it by, but you want to respect or check with whatever respective company that you're looking at.
So because I'm an explain like I'm five, you know, I'm just a
I
general
love it.
consumer.
Break it down for me.
Here's what I'm hearing you say. For every $100 I do not send to Hayes County, I'll send 30 of that to you guys.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
So, and it's based off of your, and yes, you explained it exactly correct. Here's the other thing is let me use the same example, $500,000 house, we lower you to 450. You have a homestead that actually takes you to 460. Now we've saved you, or we've lowered you $10,000 in valuation. You would take that times your tax rate, and it would be 30% of that amount. So like you said, I mean, saying it like you're five, it's 30% of the 100. That's right.
All right.
But I want to explain the math of how we get there if you choose to calculate it.
Yes. So if we're not having to send money to the county, that's when we're going to pay you guys.
That's right.
I love
That's
it.
right.
I love it. And the deadline for the homestead is April 30th. That's right around the corner, you guys. I was thinking it was April 15th, so I might be confused with tax day. That just happened.
It did, and unfortunately, right? But protesting, you need to sign up or protest, period, by May 15th. That's the deadline. So it's fast approaching. We have what, 20 days or so here to do that. So make sure and do it. There are no exceptions to that, by the way. None. Don't, if you come in on the 16th and you want to sign up, the county won't take it. There's some very finite details there where if they made a mistake, then they will take you. But if there's no mistake on their end, they don't make any exceptions on it.
Kurt owns a rental property in Rawland, so I don't see the county giving him any sort of a break there. Up and away, they can go on that. The call is being recorded. I love this question. Do you need to file exemptions every year?
You don't. As long as you make no changes to that property, you don't. It's a great question.
Greg says he's in a new build, closed in September. Am I really just screwed here? I don't know your situation specifically, but no, you shouldn't.
I don't know, Greg, but here's the thing. There's a couple things at play again. There always are. There's always more than one factor. I feel like it depends on what when you closed at the title company, what they collected. If you have your taxes and insurance and all of that escrowed, by the way, if you have all of that escrowed, it depends on what they collected for you. Did they collect on what they felt like the assessed value would be, or did they collect on what the land was at the time? Because essentially the taxes at the time that they could have seen at the title company would have been solely most likely the land, which are going to be very, very small, which means that when your mortgage company reassesses your escrow, you may have a shortage, which is going to cause that shortage to be on the makeup plan for that entire next year. So this is kind of another conversation outside of property taxes. It's more about the escrow side of things. And I will tell you, that's the majority of the calls that I'm getting right now, Ashley, is about people are in a bad situation as it relates to their escrow account, as it relates because of property taxes. And so I know of a situation out in the kind of the Lake Travis area where somebody's $5,000 a month short on their escrow because of their property taxes. And it's because they bought a home that the right amount wasn't collected, and you have an increase in taxes, and they're gonna have to sell the house because of that. So Yeah, I don't want to go as far as to say you're screwed, Greg. I think it's just a matter of evaluating exactly how much is in the escrow account right now and where it will be headed. And if you are able to add additional funds to your escrow account to help catch it up, that would be, I would get ahead of that versus waiting until they reevaluate it. And every mortgage company is different when they do that. Like mine does it every year in March or April, but everyone's different.
Mhm. I like this question. Why are you suggesting that we should not mention our sales value if it's significantly less than appraised value? I think that's a great question.
It's really valid. And I'm not saying that you don't have to or that you shouldn't. I'm just really warning you that once you give that data, they have the data.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. If Ashley's selling a property that is just this most amazing property that I just have to have for some significant reason, and you have it for sale for 500,000 and I want to pay you 2 million, I think you'll take 2 million, right? So anybody can pay whatever they want for a property. But is that really what the property is appraised at? Is that really a fair appraisal? That's the question here. And so, and the antithesis can occur. You have it listed for 500,000, the person's really desperate and I pay 250. Was that really what the property's appraisal value should be? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But my point is that the sales data is not always relevant to what the taxation and appraised value should be. People think it should match, but it doesn't necessarily. That's just what somebody was willing to pay for it. And that's what the market said it was worth, or that's what the seller was willing to take, but doesn't necessarily mean what it's should or shouldn't be appraised for. So, and if you think it will help you, I'll tell you, I'm not saying that I wouldn't give a sold data on my property if I felt like it would help me. I certainly would.
Awesome. Kurt has a specific question. What about the music venue that's going up on Fitzhugh when that comes to fruition? If your property is near there, can you use that as a negative? But I think a bigger question there is, my gosh, what if a highway was all of a sudden expanded and now it's kind of in your backyard where it wasn't before? Or what if they put a billboard up just outside of your backyard? So when changes happen around your property that could be perceived as negative, can that impact what you take to the county in your protest?
You can try, is
Okay.
all I can say. Some of this is who you get. And I mean, we've had certain counties and some of them being around here where we've gone in and they've been incredible to work with. And we've had other times where we've gone in and they haven't been.
Mhm.
And so some of it's about the relationship and who you get at the time. And so with it being a negative, is it a negative? I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that it is or that it isn't. It's just, I don't know if it's a negative for your value. And is that your perception or is that what the perception is for real valuation? And I don't know, Kurt. I'm not trying to argue the point. I'm just saying I'm not sure. And so it's worth having a conversation around it, worth presenting it, I think is the point.
All right. So I'm showing in the log, we have like 45 more questions. And I know
Keep
that I
going.
only slated from 6 to 7. So we're going to run for about 15 more minutes on this. And we're going to speed date through these questions. And of course, I'm available offline. I know Chase is willing to be available offline as well to get into some intricacies. Hi, Chase. We are in a new build, and last year we provided the sales value to Hayes, given the assessed value was really high. This year, value went up 10%, but market value listed in the assessment is high. Should I protest? And I think you've already answered yes. Yes, you should.
Yeah, and the reason why is because the appraised value versus your assessed value, they're two different things. And you're guaranteeing if you don't protest the appraised value, it's going to take 10% increments every year to get there.
Mhm.
So the answer is yes on any question related to protest, and has nothing to do with me being in the business, by the way. If I don't even earn your business, that's okay. I just want you to leave this call knowing, please protest. That's it. This is not a self-promotion thing for me. This is education.
Absolutely. Which is exactly, guys, why I decided to partner with Chase this year. Let's get you guys resources. We don't care what you do. I mean, we kind of care. Just do something, just take action. So Christy protests every year, gold star. We have always showed comps that show that the county's comps are not equitable and are equitable in being taxed completely differently. Their excuse was that their algorithm, God, that is such a buzzword, right? Makes everything equitable. Can you explain this algorithm? Can you also explain class of properties, which I believe ties to the algorithm? We ask for their algorithm and formulas every year and they do not provide. Does that give legal recourse as they are supposed to disclose? Putting on my realtor hat, you should talk to an attorney if you have to see if you have legal recourse. I don't know.
I don't know that I have an answer for that question either. I mean, disclosing an algorithm, they could say that's proprietary information. I mean, this could go kind of far, but regardless of anything, is if you're doing it on your own, and it sounds like that may be what you did, and I don't know Christy or not, but just I want to stress that, like I mentioned earlier, the system, unfortunately, it's so hard to have a really detailed conversation one-on-one because it's definitely about who you get. It's what I have always seen, because you're going and speaking to a person in an office, and I've had people just completely, buck the conversation with me when I did this on my own. And I've had people that I felt like I've been able to kind of win over and had amazing conversations and not had to go to the hearing, right? But if you feel like you need a hearing, I would keep pushing to try to have a more detailed conversation in the hearing, but be prepared in the hearing. Don't go in thinking that you can just say, I believe that it should be X, Y, and Z. You have to show them reasons. And so if you need a new roof, or you need foundation repair, or you have drainage issues, or you get bids for these things, take them in, show them what's wrong with your property, show them the cracks in your walls, show them the whatever that is, show them that. Same if you work with the company. When you sign up, we're going to send you a confirmation. You can email back any of that data. Send it to us. We will use it. I promise. It is necessary as we go in and fight these battles for you.
And if you don't have the bandwidth to blaze that trail on your own, I personally, I don't have that kind of fight in me. So I partner with companies like Home Tax Shield to go take care of that for me. At the end of the chat where the questions are going in, Lauren, my assistant, has posted the link to jump in and sign up with Home Tax Shield. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but I know that I said this would be from 6 to 7, and I really want to be respectful of everyone's time. And again, we will send out this recording so you can come back to it. If anybody needs to jump off right at 7, I completely understand. Chris and Candy, the county increased our market value by 334%. The property was last appraised in 2018. I'm feeling a little bit better about my 301%. We bought it last year, filed for homestead exemption, but it's not reflected on the county tax letter. I would just call Hayes County. That could probably get to the bottom of that really quickly. Jeff's land value more than doubled. I'm hearing that a lot. Can you protest the huge increases in appraised value on the tiny lots our 20-year-old houses sit on? The increases are absurd. I agree. Joyce, yes, you can protest, and you should every year. The thing about Texas, you never own your property. You're always running from the state. Man, Kurt, you're good. Does Tax Shield assist with the home and land appraisal? Is that all in the same effort if we were to procure Tax Shield to assist?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. We made no improvements to our home. The appraised improvements building market value increased by almost 175,000 from last year. Is this something that can be protested? Yes, the answer is yes. We moved into a new build in October 22. Assessed and appraised value is more than $100K what we paid. Can't we use that sales price to help? Yeah. And we did touch on this topic just a few minutes ago. There are instances where you can absolutely present that data and, say this is way out of line. What if the number that they have in there, you couldn't even sell your home for? It would be impossible. It might be worth presenting some data there, but the point I was illustrating earlier is just taking comps to the county is a terrible strategy. You need a stronger strategy than that. We purchased our home in April of 2022. It was previously homestead. Our home in Wilco was homestead, Hayes County. How do we communicate our appraised value is way higher than the 10% cap? I would call the county again and make sure that your homestead exemption is appropriately applied to the correct property. I love this question, Chase. I want you to answer this one for us. Doug asks, what's an example of a class?
Yeah, I'm seeing that a couple of times in the chat, and class is really like how the property's finished. So, is yours like, do you have a tile roof? Are you 4 sides brick? How is it finished out inside? That would be potentially a higher class property than potentially a home that is all side siding and maybe has a composition roof and, et cetera, right? And maybe a builder grade finish out inside. That might be a lower class property. So it's based off of trying to create understanding about what is average or normal in a given area is how they're using the class codes.
Okay, and I'm skipping down a little bit further. Christy asks, where can we find the definition of each classification? I've asked them to explain what certain class codes mean, and I don't get an answer. I can't say this is wrong if I don't know the definition.
Yeah, there is a key on the county website. It is tricky to find. I have found it before on Travis CAD. I live in Travis County, so I've seen it on there, but Christy, I don't know exactly where to point you to on the Hayes County, but you should find a key of some sort.
Okay. And we'll do some digging as well. And whenever we send out that recap email, if we can find a link to that, we'll include that with this recording, you guys. Linda had a question about her jump from 2018 to 2023. Do we have a case? I think you always have a case and you should always ask the question. While you haven't covered this portion yet, please share success rate of protests using Home Tax Shield. Take it away, Chase. This is your time to shine.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we are not going to win on every property. It's just not the way that works. But 82% of properties, we are successful on finding a reduction. And we are actually taking out the properties that we were successful on, but then your exemption was more. Because remember, we don't charge you our success rate on that. So I just want to make sure and be clear, our focus is not about getting you the lowest value, taxable value. It's about getting you the most fair value. And so if you think your property is fair now, then that may be the fairest it is going to ever be. And that may be all that we can do. But here's the thing. If you want to test it out, $15, you see if we can get it lower. And you keep going year after year, right? So, but the thing is that it's 82% success rate on having a lower valuation after we've taken out all the exemptions and things, which would actually make our success rate higher. But we want to make sure and be as honest and upfront as we can so that we can be as successful as we possibly can for you.
And Chase hasn't mentioned this, but if you sign up through my link, that $15 that you pay, that actually doesn't stay with Home Tax Shield. That's going to be donated to Foster Village here locally in Dripping Springs. So it's $15 to check, and you can feel kind of good that it's going to a nonprofit here locally. Now, of course, every year after there is a low fee to check again. This is a consistency game. So less than for $2 to go out to dinner, you can check into this and potentially save quite a bit of money. But again, the $15 that you pay is going to a local nonprofit. Will said, can you explain how your organization fights this? I used a competitor of yours and they were incredibly opaque. I did my exemption work myself. They went to arbitrate for us, but were not transparent about what they did. Is your organization transparent in its processes?
Yeah, here's the thing is that we will send you a portal. You'll be able to see when we file the protest. You will also be able to see exactly what we have done, where we are in this process. We generally try to stay out of arbitration as much as we possibly can. We have done a few over the course of obviously being in business. Here's what I have seen, and I want to be as diplomatic about this as I can be. What I have seen some of our other companies do, and the reason why I know this is because we have some folks that work for us today that have been in other companies, and I don't know which one you use, and this is a broad statement, and it's not about everybody. But if they don't feel like there's enough meat on the bone, they don't put a lot of effort behind it. And because they're looking at the success rate or the success fee. Here's what we do, because we are a computer driven, and I'm trying not to use the word algorithm because I know it's a buzzword, but because we do a lot of things through artificial intelligence and running it through our systems and our platforms that we've built out, we're actually a very small company with a very small team, and we are doing some of the largest work in the state because of this. And the reason why we're able to do it that way is because we're creating these grids, and our team actually comes from the corporate, not corporate, the commercial tax protest world. And they have combined well over 100 years of experience in that side of the business. And so with that being said, the way you fight commercial taxes is by the equity argument. And so that's why we've built our company around that argument. And so, because commercial properties are maybe one on this corner, but then there isn't anything around for a while, and there's one, 3 miles away or 2 miles away or whatever it is. And so that's why we've built the company around that. So my point in saying all of that to you, I think that's Will that's asking that, is we will send you all the information that we have on it if that's what you want from us. With our process, we will also provide a portal so that you can see everything that we've been doing. And also, if you sign up through Ashley's link, Ashley can see it too. We are incredibly transparent about it all. We want you to know exactly what's going on.
Absolutely. And I'm going to skip Jenny's question and go straight to CL Coates because I think it ties into what you were just talking about. Our attorney told us you will lose at your hearing. Their minds are made up already and don't even listen to your evidence. Is this true? And perhaps it is if you're blazing this trail by yourself. But what I'm hearing and learning from Chase, and Chase, you can course correct me here if I'm wrong, there's like a safety and numbers game that's being played with you guys here. And that's what y'all are able to do for your clients, because it's a lot of you guys going after it together.
Yeah, that is true. And I'll tell you, CL Coates, I have done the hearing on my own before, and I've been successful in it. I'm not sure that now the situation was in might be different than yours. But in regard to the size, right? So size is sometimes good and some size is sometimes bad. Size in this situation plays in your favor, with the number of properties that we can go in with at one given time.
Okay, backing up to Jenny's question, we've been asked something similar a couple other times. Yeah, you could absolutely provide that closing statement. I mean, it is a piece of data that would prove the point very, very quickly. We just purchased our home. Could we just argue the lot value is too high? Absolutely. Craft your case, and make the case that you're being unfairly treated compared to your neighbor. Absolutely. In the past year, the county has negotiated over email with us. We didn't have to go to a hearing. It was pre-pandemic. That does happen. They will make offers and you don't even go in. They'll send an offer and you can just say, okay, that works for me. We'll see you next year, and have this conversation again. I think when we were talking about investment properties and no caps, that's where some of these comments came from.
Yeah.
So if going in with sales data and comps isn't enough, what do we need? We've kind of touched on great ways to craft your arguments. How exactly is the success fee determined? So every $100 that you would not give Hays County, $30 is going to go to Home Tax Shield, and that $70 is going to go in your pocket. Lower appraised value or lower taxes? I don't know, man. I don't know what's best there anymore. Can deficiencies in the
Both.
Yeah, I know. We want it all. Can deficiencies in the property be used to reduce the appraised value, i.e. roof repairs? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Does the lowered exemption price affect the sales price if you decide to sell? No, it
No.
doesn't. It doesn't, because you have me, your real estate expert, coming in to truly look at what's going on with market data, which is different than county's data, to market and sell your home. When does it shake out that we
And
don't?
thank you, Ronnie. Sorry, Ashley, but thank you, Ronnie, for asking that. That's something we should have addressed far sooner, because that is such a common misconception. I've heard so many people tell me that over the years. So thank you for bringing that up.
Mary Megan, when does it shake out that we don't pay you guys either? I missed that. You don't pay if you're not saving any money. That's the only time you're going to pay. That's why it's called a success fee. Where exactly is our tax rate for our specific property? Oh, I love this question. So if you're in Hays County, hayscad.com, just put in your address and then the different breakdowns are going to come up. Protesting ends April 30th. No, it's May 15th. May 15th. Do we have to do the homestead every year? No, we talked about that. It's a one time and then it's in place. I close on a house. Can I sign up for a homestead the same day? The 30th lands on a Sunday. Will they extend it to the 1st? That's a great question. So what I guide my clients is you have to get your driver's license changed over. And if your driver's license matches the address that you want to put your homestead on, you're good to go. And that's usually the biggest hurdle. So if you're closing on 4/28, I don't know that you can get that homestead in place. Tax shield estimated savings. Do you have about the estimated success rate, or could we expect more or less? What are your estimated success rates?
I think what they're getting at is if you go on the website and you actually just type in your address, we will tell you what we think we can do on your property. And so that will help you understand exactly what it might look like and what the success potentially could be. And then that will help you understand what our success fee might look like in October, November. I think that's what they're referring to, Ashley.
Okay. Just bought a property in August. Can the appraisal used for the loan be used? Of course, only if it's lower than what the accounting appraisal shows. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely case by case. That's tricky.
Not sure it holds a lot of weight or water to the conversation, but you can try.
Which is wild because you need it to get a loan, right?
I know.
Close on a house March 31st this year in time. Got it. Title company estimated our taxes. Are we safe until next year when we will be able to file our tax exemption? Well, I mean, the values are out. So if that feels safe, then yeah. And whenever you file your homestead exemption, say you're in the home, Todd, for 5 years, it's going to retroact back 2 years, I believe. So yes, you can do that.
But Todd, you can still file a protest. I mean, you already own the home. When you actually sign up, you're going to see that it's going to probably default to the prior owner's name. Just change that information. We'll go in and protest it for you. It doesn't mean that you can't do that. Okay. And actually, we have our first case study, Ashley, going on in San Antonio right now, where an agent has written in to have the seller commit to also protest and then shift it to the buyer. They're writing it into the contract.
Whoa.
So I'll keep you in the loop about that.
Yeah, for my industry, you guys, that's like Wild West business. That's really cool. Do you suggest doing a something online protest, a single online protest, or do you think it's better to go before the ARB?
It's a progressive way of doing it. You're going to start with the protest in person first, and then you're going to do the ARB. But I think the county is going to want you to do the protest first. I'm assuming, and I don't know if this is the case in Hays, is they're allowing you to do online as a way to scale this, and then if you want to, you can come in. I always like doing things in person. I feel like I get more in person. I feel like I can create a connection with people. And this is a belly to belly conversation. At the end of the day is what I feel like, but that costs you time, and time is money. And I'll tell you, I mean, an hour of my time is worth more than $30, I would say. So when I think about signing up to have it done, I just, that's leverage for me, I guess, is my point, to be able to continue to do the things that yeah, are more effective for me. So that's up to you, Joe.
So kind of our folks they're dropping like flies. We've maxed
Yeah.
out on time. So we do have these logged in the chat. So guys, the ones that we haven't addressed verbally here today, I'm gonna be sure to go through them. And if there's any newer questions popping up that hasn't been asked already, I will make sure to get you an answer or resource or more info there. So really quickly, Chase, give us the rundown again on how do people sign up and take advantage of partnering with you at Home Tax Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. What they need to do to sign up is they need to go to hometaxshield.com/partners/Ashley-Tullis and use your page, Ashley, which I know was posted here. And Lauren, you may want to post it again just to refresh the chat. And then also too, my email is in the chat, and it's outreach@hometaxshield.com. That is going, I can see those. I will be answering you as quickly as I possibly can. And that's also going to go to our team so that we can ensure that we help you. This is our busiest season. 90% of people that sign up in the last 2 weeks. And so I just want to make sure that we don't drop the ball and that we're able to get to all of your questions. So that's the best way to reach me right now. And I know that somebody asked me to help you with your HOA meeting. I think that was Christina Fisher. And Christina, I would be happy to do that. And I will, if you're still on here, I'll send you a direct message.
Awesome. Well, Chase, thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you everybody who joined in, and for the over 50 of you that are still hanging out with us. I really, really appreciate it. Again, we're going to send out the recording. We're going to send out resources to you guys. Feel free to circle back to Chase or I offline if you have more questions, if we can help. Again, I'm Ashley Tullis, owner of Atomic Properties Group at Keller Williams Realty here in Dripping Springs. If I can ever be a resource to you with any of your real estate needs, please reach out. I'm here to help. And again, Chase, thank you so much for your time this evening. With that, I think that's a wrap.
So grateful for you, Ashley. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
Be well, fight the good fight. Good night, y'all.